Welcome to what is basically a continuation of the last video that you saw on my channel, and that was a disappointing products video. Everything in here was a disappointing product that I detailed in that video, and I ambitiously had thought that that was going to be both a disappointing products video as well as sort of declutter product clear out sort of video. As we know that I like to provide lots of extended thoughts on products, I just decided to make that disappointing products video, disappointing products. So if you haven't seen that, I will have it linked below, up here, blah, blah, blah. But the videos are sort of connected because there's sort of some overlap with doing a nail polish clear out, which I'll get to. And I'm just kind of constantly keeping bags going of products that I'm either not going to use because I don't get on with them, or that I do like and have used, but they're just kind of gone off, not performing optimally. I need to make room for other things to come into my life and review, because I posted about a giveaway that I was doing, which at this point will be closed, and I will have chosen a winner when you're seeing this. But the comment that I asked people to submit in order to enter the giveaway was, let me know one product, I said one, like bookended by asterisks, one product you would like for me to test and review in 2018. And the responses were mind-blowing. There's like over 300 comments on that post of different products that people are interested in themselves or having me or a beauty blogger review, it seems like. Wait, why am I talking about this? Oh, yes. So I'm constantly trying to keep things edited and clean and actually using what I like to use and making room for new things to test and review and bring you content. I guess the one little important disclaimer for this video is that as opposed to the disappointing products, which really are sort of critical thoughts on those products and why they didn't work for me, for the most part, things in here are products that I have liked and gotten on with and had a place in my routine. It's just time to move them along. They're old, expired, or I'm not using them for whatever reason. And I have to like hurry kind of through this video. I have to get to work. I have a big deadline this week, but I wanted to sit down and get this done, so let's get to it. What's in this bag is mostly makeup, but there are a few skincare things. So why don't we get those out of the way first? This is the Suntegrity Natural Moisturizing Face Sunscreen and Primer, Broad Spectrum SPF 30. I sort of hemmed and hawed a little bit about whether this should have gone in disappointing products or just a clear out, because it's a little bit complicated. I did do a whole demo video of this. I think I included this, yes, when I was comparing it to the Josh Rosebrook Nutrient Day Cream that came in the Beauty Heroes box this past summer. The main problem with this is that it leaves a very strong white cast and it's not terribly user-friendly. That said, I was having a lot of problems with the Suntegrity in the pump in the shade Light, I think. Now I'm blanking. I think it was Light that I was using for many years, and it was more just kind of like a medium tan color. It was too dark, it would oxidize on me throughout the day, and the product would oxidize over time. So I went for this. Now I have since switched to using the pump version of the Suntegrity Tinted Moisturizer in the shade Fair, which on me, on my kind of NC 15 to 20 skin, I would say, doesn't show up as any sort of tint. It's essentially an untinted face sunscreen and moisturizer. Hence, it replaces the need for having this in my routine. But the Suntegrity in the pump is very moisturizing, I think better for anyone to the dry or mature side of normal. And in Fair, on me, it shows up as an untinted sunscreen, much more user-friendly than something like this. The issue then is that I don't now have like a true tinted moisturizer. I guess I could potentially try the Josh Rosebrook Tinted Nutrient Day Cream. I actually have tried it in the past and I didn't find that it imparted much coverage at all. Yeah, that's basically why I decided to get rid of this. I'm just not really using it. It is sort of old at this point. It's probably a year and a half old. There's probably half in here, and it's just a little too difficult to use. This is a product I really, really like. It's the Precious Skin Elixirs Sterling Honey Polish. It was in my Best of Beauty 2017. I am good friends with the founder of this brand, Marissa. She lives on the North Shore of Massachusetts and I get to see her on like a monthly basis. I think that she's such a lovely person and that gets infused in her products for sure. I got through about half of this. And to be honest, I probably still could keep using it. I just started feeling like the last couple times I used it, it wasn't feeling like as potent and as effective as it had. This is about a year old because I've known Marissa about a year, and at our first meeting she brought me some of her products to test out. And I would say that it's definitely kind of had its maximum potency in the first 6 to 8 months. So that is something to keep in mind. The preservatives that she uses in her products are all very clean and eco, like she doesn't use potassium sorbate, she doesn't use phenoxyethanol. This is preserved with colloidal silver, I believe, and aspen bark extract. And this is like a fantastic product. The thing is, you do get quite a bit and you would want to get through it pretty expediently, I would say in the first 6 to 8 months. I didn't have any issues with like bacteria or it going off. I just don't feel that it's as effective almost a year later. You get 3.38 ounces or 100 mils. I forget what this retails at, but I'll have it listed here. I highly recommend this product and I love it. Getting rid of 2 MAC eyeshadows. Oh my goodness. This is just like such a throwback. So I think that this is MAC Coppering and this is, oh no, maybe that's not a MAC shadow, is it? Okay, so it's 1 MAC shadow and 1 Jane Iredale shadow. I had my makeup done at a MAC counter in like 2005. I was living in Chicago with some sorority sisters, like in the time between undergrad and going back to grad school. And we were getting our makeup done for one of my roommates' birthdays. And you guys, that night, I have not had, I mean, I probably just like shouldn't even really share. I've only blacked out twice in my life from drinking alcohol, which is also just like really embarrassing to admit, but that was one of those nights. Not that like I always think about that night when I see the shadow, but it does remind me like how old it is. This eyeshadow is like 13 years old. I think it's time to get rid of the mid-2000s. Anything that I'm holding on from the mid-2000s needs to go. And I just don't even really wear these color eyeshadows. I wish I could, but I just don't. And then this is the black shadow that comes in the Jane Iredale Daytime Smoky palette. It was sort of a Herculean feat to depot the shadows out of that palette, but I did. And truth be told, there's only, well, so there's 5 shadows in that palette. And of the 5, I really only liked, well, I liked 3 of them. The taupe, sort of the greigey, beigey taupe in there is such a good color on me. I love it. The brown is also quite good. And then there's sort of a highlighter iridescent white shade that I also like. The peach shade that's in that palette didn't work for me at all. I think I got rid of that a long time ago. The black is okay. The thing is, I just now have like the black My Lorac Pro palette. Is that what it's called? Why am I'm like not on point this morning at all? I think my mind is like focused on this deadline. The black in that Lorac palette is much better than this black, but it is sort of nice to have a black in an eyeshadow palette, but I just wasn't really reaching for this, so we're going to move it along. I have eyeshadow all over my hands. Okay, this is also quite old. This is just a mini of the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer. I probably went through like a couple of these in my day. It is a nice primer. It had a lot of love online several years ago. Now I feel like everybody raves about the Becca, it's sort of like a lavender purple Becca backlight priming filter or whatever. People don't really talk about this anymore, so it sort of had its due. You know, it's probably still good, honestly, but I just, if I need a primer, I tend to use one of the Vapor primers. I just sort of, they work on me and there's no reason for me to use sort of a less clean product if I don't have to. Not that there's really even anything, I don't even think that this has super bad ingredients. But my skin just doesn't really require a very intense primer, but this is very smoothing. It's almost very silicone-y feeling on the skin, and I do think it's a great product if you want a little bit more of like a traditional primer. And it is nice that you can get these sort of little sizes. Another eyeshadow that is just really time to go to its little graveyard somewhere. This is the MAC Blackground Paint Pot. If you saw my Get Ready With Me over the holidays, it was like right before Christmas, I did a holiday fete Get Ready With Me featuring some Au Naturel products. And I used this because I was trying to replicate a Lisa Eldridge look that I used to do all the time when I was wearing much vampier, smokier eyes when I would go out, when I used to be a party girl. It was very difficult to work with in that video. I'm surprised that that look even came together as it did, to be honest. Look how much shrinkage is around this. Another product that had its heyday for me in the like mid to late 2000s, more late 2000s actually, not mid. I got this, I think, probably around 2009, 2010, so it's really time to go. It's discontinued, and I would like to find kind of like a blackened gray eyeshadow stick to replace it with, but I got a lot of mileage out of this product. Okay, another single eyeshadow that I am getting rid of is the Laura Mercier Single Shadow in the shade Deep Night. This is just a navy shadow. It's actually, I don't know, it might still be good. Guess where this came from? A Makeup Alley swap. I used to be an avid, well, I thought I was a pretty avid Makeup Alley swapper. Compared to some other people, I don't think I was. I probably had like 50 tokens, but there were people on there that had like 300 tokens. So I guess I was probably on the light end of the swapping spectrum, but I got this in a Makeup Alley swap and I did use it. I really like navy on someone with like my complexion and coloring. I think it looks really pretty on fair-skinned brunettes or really brunettes in general. I just think navy it's sort of a little bit more interesting than black, and I think you can just build a really nice eye around a deep matte navy shadow. Absolutely no idea if this is still available. I'm sure there are other matte navy shadows you could get your hands on. Also, I'm just not like a single eyeshadow person. They're pretty much a pain to have around. I think most people would concur with that. Okay, another Laura Mercier product that I thought I got rid of a long time ago. This was a ride or die staple product for me. Again, in this era of like post-college to like early to mid graduate school, before I started making YouTube videos, but I was still like such an intense beauty junkie on like Makeup Alley and, you know, going to makeup counters and just being like a freak. This is the Laura Mercier Eye Kohl in Black Violet. I used to just every single day I would line my lower waterline with this and smudge it out. I mean, it was like an intense look. I feel like I just wore so much more makeup when I was in that age bracket that may or may not have been terribly flattering, but you know, like live and learn. Yeah, it's not even like good anymore. Well, I was gonna say it's not even good anymore, but I don't know. I remember it being a little lighter than that. It basically looks black, but when the light catches it, there is a bit of sort of like a purpley eggplant that I always thought was really, really pretty. I wouldn't buy this again, I guess just because I'm totally devoted to the Trish McAvoy gel liner pencils, and there's other more eco pencils that I'm interested in trying, like the K.R. Weiss. I really like the Antonym pencils, the Au Naturel pencils, so no real need for me to buy another one of these, but it is a very nostalgic item for me. A lot of this stuff in this video is quite nostalgic. Here's the last nostalgic thing that we'll cover. This is a Kiko eye pencil in this sort of slate gray color. I don't even know if it has a name. Kiko is, I believe, an Italian makeup brand. And I bought this pencil when I was on a European adventure with my sister in like 2011 or 2012. We ended up going to Paris, Rome, Madrid, and London, and it was like, it was my first time in Europe. It was the trip of a lifetime. And I remember we were shopping in downtown Rome. We went into a Kiko store and we both like bought a bunch of stuff. And I never wear it anymore. I was sort of holding on to it for nostalgia's sake. I did get quite a bit of use out of it for a good couple of years there. But a gray eye pencil just doesn't honestly look great on me. This technically, I guess, could have gone in an empty products video, but we'll just mention it here because I think there probably is still a little bit of product in there. This is a Bare Minerals Primetime Eyelid Primer. I really, really like this. It's the only eye primer that I'll use. I have a fresh one. I picked it up in the Sephora VIB sale from this last fall, and I think I just put it in here because it was time to sort of like clear it out and get a fresh one going. I had had this one for probably 3 years and it stayed pretty good up until the end when I felt like the formula just kind of started, I don't know, getting gummy and just not really like laying smoothly on my eyelids, but it's a great product. Actually, the ingredients are pretty good as far as an eye primer goes. I had tried, I mean, back in the day, I used to use the Urban Decay Primer Potion, which I would honestly never use now. It just has a bunch of silicones and sort of unsavory ingredients in it. I tried the Lorac one, I tried the NARS Pro Prime, and I just honestly think that this is, for the ingredients and the performance, this is a really good one. Okay, I'm very torn on this. This is the Real Techniques buffing brush. Again, another thing I'm sort of holding on to for nostalgia's sake. It has a hair in it, but I never really use it. It doesn't have a place in my routine at present, and it hasn't for probably about a year. Basically, I have like a bag tucked into the drawer where all my makeup is of makeup brushes that I'm not using, that I think like I might use at some point because I don't want to just divest them or get rid of them in case I might find a use for them. I don't know. It's like makeup brushes are the one thing that are really hard for me to get rid of for some reason. This is nostalgic for me because it's emblematic of, for me, what was like the golden age of YouTube before it got like really corrupted, as we know, in the last couple of years. But, you know, watching vintage Viviana Does Makeup videos and her using this to like buff in her foundation, it was just like everything about that era of YouTube before it became overly commercialized and influencery. There was just something so grassroots and genuine and enjoyable about it that I really miss. And this brush to me signifies that era. Now, the only reason I can think that I would ever use this is if for some reason I ever got into powder foundation or loose mineral foundation, which I really don't see happening, but I think this would be a really good brush for buffing that into the skin. I don't like this for liquid products. Sort of undecided with what to do with it. Okay, everything else then is lip products. This is an almost empty Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in Pillow Talk. In my recent Mercedes shops, a lot of people recommended this to me as an option for the sort of the color palette of lip products that I've been pursuing lately: milky pink, nude pink, peachy pink. So as you can tell, I basically have used this up and I'm so done with it, which is why I didn't fully, I mean, I could still probably get 3 or 4 sharpens out of this. And I'm so done using it. I think the formula's sort of much too heavy and waxy for me. I don't know. My kind of holy grail lip pencil formula are the MAC lip pencils. I think they're the perfect amount of like pigmented but stiff, but then they're not drying the way I feel like the Jane Iredale lip pencils are the driest of the ones that I have, and they're good. I like them all sort of for different reasons, I guess, or different looks and pairings and creating different textures on the lip. Yeah, I was just so done with this. And also just Charlotte Tilbury holds very little appeal to me as a brand these days. I'm not really sure why. I do still have the Film Star Bronze and Glow, which I'm using and liking. Her Matte Revolution lipsticks I really like, but yeah, I would not be buying this or another lip liner from her anytime soon. Okay, I decided to get rid of my Glossier, what are these called? Generation G lip tints. I had the shade Crush and Jam. Actually, Jam is in like old packaging. I think that this is the new packaging and this is the old packaging. They kind of like made it a little shorter and wider. Okay, these are a product that I liked for a while. Like I had a real kind of love affair with these for maybe the first 8 months after they had like been released and I picked some up. At the end of the day, I kept going back and forth on them. It was one of those products that like I really couldn't decide if I liked it or if I didn't, and I would use it and then be over it. And then ultimately I just decided I didn't like kind of the petroleum weird smell that they had, plasticky weird smell. I think the formula of this one started going off. I did use quite a bit. I probably used about half of Jam, and Crush I barely used, honestly. I just didn't find them to be like as great as initially I thought that they were, and I think that's kind of really all to say about it. There's just other lip products I enjoyed using much more. These would never really apply that evenly. They kind of took quite a bit of work, and I see other people using them and loving them, and I mean, I was right there with it. Like I had a real love affair with them, and then I just kind of got over it. So these are going away. This is the Bite Matte Lip Crayon in the shade Coulis. This is the sole remaining item from the Bite Beauty holiday set from like 2 or maybe even 3 years ago at this point. It came with 4. I don't know why they haven't done another matte crayon set. I wish they would, because this is like my favorite formula of lip product that Bite does. I used up to entirety the other 3 that were in there. Aubergine, lychee, and Tort, I think. I used them all up. So this was the holdout. And you know, I wore it a couple times in December because I thought it was a pretty holiday red, but I just decided like there's other reds I have that I like a little bit more, and like I did pretty much use it up. There's not a ton left in there, and it was pulling a little like a drab on me, to be honest. I felt like I needed something with a little bit more blue in it to really, like, for example, MAC Ruby Woo is just such a pretty red on me, and I feel like it's so much more flattering than this. It just made me look a little more sallow than I would like a red to look. I did wear it a bunch and it's fine, but as I've gotten into these finer and finer differentiations and sort of, I guess, knowingness about my own undertones and just kind of ever more in tune with sort of color theory and my undertones and what works and what doesn't. I mean, it's a whole process, right? But ultimately I've decided this is time to move on. Okay, another red that I really liked for a long time was the Mahalo Red My Lips tint. This is about 2 years old at this point. I think it was released 2 years ago, February. You can see like it got pretty beat up and got quite a bit of use from me. Really liked it for probably, so I got it in February 2 years ago when it was released, and I would say from that February all the way through the following fall, I wore this a lot and really liked it. After that, I just kind of stopped reaching for it. It's a very spring summer red, but also a very interesting red in that it's always had this very unique balance of pink, orange, and red to it. I thought it was a really flattering red. The only thing I really didn't like about it was I didn't love the scent. You really kind of have to love the scent of Mahalo products, honestly, and on my lips I didn't enjoy smelling it all the time, but I kind of put up with it because I liked the color and the stain that it would leave behind. I also really didn't like that you had to apply with your fingers. I mean, I guess you could apply with a brush. I've always just been a little bit too lazy to deal with lip brushes. I prefer to use my fingers, and it was just messy, not like very convenient for touching up during the day either. So I haven't reached for it in about a year, so I'm going to be graveyarding it, I guess. I'm getting rid of all my Bite Beauty Amuse Bouche minis for 2 main reasons. First, I do not care for the Bite Amuse Bouche formula on my lips. The matte lip crayons I love, the multi-sticks I love, and that's like kind of the deal. I really liked their Luminous Cream formula too, which they've discontinued, but there's just something about the Amuse Bouche that just really kind of wasn't, I didn't like the way it looked on me, or like I guess kind of how it wore. Sort of too creamy, kind of reminded me a bit of like some Red Apple lipstick formulas that I had, and this is gonna sound like maybe a little harsh, but I just find the formula to be a little like dated. It's not a very modern lipstick formula, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't have a very unique texture on the lips. I feel like it gives a lipstick appearance and texture of kind of like a dated lipstick. So this swatches of Pepper, which I know a lot of people like. So here's the ones that I have. Gazpacho, Honeycomb, Pepper, Licorice, Nori, and Radish. Some of them were like 100 point perks. Some of them came in a set. I also just really don't love having mini lipsticks around. They're difficult to store. They're kind of annoying to work with. And just none of the colors did I really like. So just other stuff I'd like to be using more. I always enjoy having a full hand of swatches by the end of a video. Okay, and then the last thing I'll end on, which if you saw last week's video will be redundant, but I did do a huge nail polish declutter. I decided to just really be harsh with my nail polish collection because basically if you've had a nail polish for longer than 2 or 3 years, you're probably going to start to notice the formula not wearing as well on you. It's not going to dry as hard. It's going to be more prone to getting indentations in it even when the polish is actually dry, because I think what happens with nail polish formulas is that it like thickens up and it just won't set in the same way. At least this has been my experience. So when a polish hits like the 3-4 year mark, they really start to go downhill. I took a very harsh editing eye to my collection and really tried to refine it. I made a whole video, a separate video about this that is on Patreon, should you care to go see it. It's a bonus video for all patrons, in addition to the patron exclusive video that I'm doing this month, which if you're interested in that, is on my most worn pieces in my winter capsule-ish wardrobe. I don't do a strict capsule wardrobe, but a capsule approach to wardrobe is sort of what I try and adhere to. So I talk you through sort of my most worn pieces and show them to you. So that's the patron exclusive. And then the nail polish declutter and showing you my current collection and talking you through that is for everybody on Patreon. So to end on that note, I just want to thank everybody so much who supports L'Amour et la Musique both on Patreon and on here. Every time I post a video, I feel like my heart is so full with the beautiful comments that you leave me. So please do share in the comments on this video. I would love to chat with you about anything I talked about today. I am going to cut this outro short because it's time for me to go get my butt in my office and get this grant submitted. So I can't wait to see you guys in the very near future. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll see you soon. Bye.